So this is my must-have side deck for 2015. Somebody asked me to make this video. I personally don't side deck. I rather main deck. But these are cards that most people typically would side deck, or I just recommend for side decking for those who like to side deck. Because pendulum summoning is going to be a thing in 2015 and up. We got Spell Shadowing Arrow, Fairy Wind. These are some good cards to destroy opponent's pendulum scale and deal damage in the process, so you can so make it easier to beat them. These cards are also good against other things as well. The fact that, you know, Medolches, for example, they have Ticket and they have the Chateau, so instead of using MST to get rid of one of them, you can use Spell Shadowing Arrow instead and get rid of both and deal 1,000 damage in the process. Spell Shadowing is also good against just any normal spell card that would be played. If somebody plays like an MST, you could chain this, destroy their MST, and deal them 500 damage. So it's just a good burn card, but at the same time, it's a good side deck card. I prefer to main deck it, but it's a good side deck card against decks that are heavy on continuous spell cards or just field spells and stuff like that in general. So Fairy Wind will deal with any face-up spell or trap card on the field. Deal 300 damage to both players for each card. It's also useful for getting rid of your own cards that you want to get rid of. Like, let's say you have a Call to Haunted that no longer is attached to a monster. You can use Fairy Wind and destroy it, deal your opponent 300 damage. You could pretty much win with that if your opponent's weak enough. This is also good to chain to Soul Charge, just like Spell Shadowing Arrow. You can chain it to Soul Charge to reduce your opponent's life points, so that way either he kills himself by summoning multiple monsters that would end up causing him to lose all his life points, or you could prevent him from summoning a whole bunch of monsters. Like, he might have tried to summon 3, but then you made it where he can only summon 2. Spell Shadowing Arrow. Shadow Imprisoning Mirror and Light Imprisoning Mirror. Obviously, those are basic. This is against dark decks. This is against light attribute decks. Don't have to explain them too much. Skill Drain. Generic. It'll negate the effects of face-up monsters on the field. So this is a good side deck card. Also a good main deck. I prefer to main deck it, but it's a good generic monster negation card. Soul Drain. This will stop the effects of banished monsters as well as monsters in the graveyard. This will make it where they can't activate their effects that start a chain, so that's useful. You combine Skill Drain with that, you can pretty much lock out a lot of your opponent's effects. Then you throw in Mind Drain, and you can stop the hand traps, the battle faders, the gores, stuff like that. So with all 3 of the drains on the field, that just locks out your opponent's monster effects. Then they have to use their spells and traps to combat by getting rid of them, of course. Microcosmos and Dimensional Feature is good for those graveyard decks. So instead of the cards going to graveyard, they go out of play instead. You can use this in a deck that pendulum summons, since the pendulum monsters don't go to the grave. These are also good against hand traps, because the hand traps usually got to go to the graveyard to use their effects. So this is a counter against Veilers and Swift Scarecrows. No, not Swift Scarecrow, but definitely Veiler, Maxi, stuff like that. Vanity's Emptiness, Discord, and Non-Fusion Area, along with Imperial Iron Wall. These will all be useful for preventing your opponent summoning monsters. Banning these empties will stop both players from special summoning anything. Discord will stop both players from synchro summoning. Non-fusion arrow will stop both players from fusion summoning. Imperial Iron Wall will just prevent any remove from play. Obviously that's a good counter against macros and Infusor, but it's also good against Dragon Rulers, Infernoids, any monsters that require moving from play in order to summon, like Chaos Sorcerer, Blackluster Soldier. There's a lot of decks that they're moved from play in order to get effects or just to summon, so Imperial to stop those decks from summoning. Royal Decree, anti-spell fragrance, helps you generically shut down spells and traps. You know, against a heavy deck that uses spell cards a lot, anti-spell, it's good. This is a good, obviously, to slow them down. Nice little continuous card that can slow them down, especially if your deck is heavy on traps. Anti-spell fragrance is really good. Royal Decree helps shut down heavy trap decks. You can also use trap stun, but these cards are continuous, so that's why I recommend them as opposed to the trap the one shot cards. Since Chalice, really good card because it gives a power boost that tends to be very useful. It negates a monster effect, so that could be useful to negate something like a Black Rose Exciton Knight or something like that. So it's kind of like a 2-skill spell version. Especially Jinzo will have all these true. Just have trap. You can Jinzo's up use your trend. So it's a good defense against cards like that. This is good against monsters that just have really strong effects that makes them, maybe they can't die by battle, can't die by card effects, so you can use this that way. They now can be destroyed by card effects. And then we got Puppet Plant, Electric Virus, useful matches because you can steer and use effects for deck. If you were going to a deck, for example, and you're going to deck, useful to could steal your XYZs or system create your own XYZs, just whatever you want, you know what I mean? It's also good against stuff like against the hero deck. What other warrior decks out there? 6 Samurais, just any generic warrior deck. It's just good in general. It's good against Pleiades. Pleiades, it's a rank 5 warrior. You can steal it with this. This is also useful against spellcaster decks. You can use it against Shaddolls. You can use it against, if anybody, it's pretty good and you against them. Since you use Synchro, do with them all until the end. Electric Virus against machine decks. There's YUGIOH decks, Arcuri, Machina decks, decks. Against that is stealing drag tokens, and then sack, pop something in point. So it grabs this good somebody start drag, and they have a voice drag and a silver red eyes darkness, whatever deck. This is useful, against that. This is good against Infernoids, because it's good against Fiends, Infernoids, Infernities, it's good against trap tricks, not trap tricks. I meant to say ghost tricks. It's good against ghost tricks because it could do fiends and zombies. It's good against archfiends. I'm thinking the DTDs. That pendulum archetype is good against them because they're fiends. Just good, against fiends. Good against zombies, zombie decks. You know what I mean? Dustins, they're fiends. You can use it against them, and so on and so on. It's just some good cards because of the fact that you could take something that somebody has, especially if it's their boss monster. Dark Synchro with just banner effect that requires a monster. I do it's really good. Yeah, the end of the video.